Hello everyone. Welcome to our session. I'm waiting for everyone to arrive. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm going to start the presentation for today. We are in a small committee. We have three people today, which is, I think people are getting busy time of the year. We usually are about 15 to 20, but that's good. I'm also getting busy, so today will be a bit more of a participative approach, so we can all interact and learn more together. We have three people today, Fiona, Reynold, and Bree. Maybe can I ask you to first start by introducing yourself and letting me know which company you come from, so I have a bit of context. Fiona, if you want to start, you're the first one on my list.
Hi, my name's Fiona. I work for the Great Barrier Reef Foundation. Sorry, I've got my camera turned off. I've got the flu at the moment, so I'm not feeling my best. But
Everybody's sick. Yeah, not worry.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to this particularly because we use a lot of Microsoft Teams and I've already started to integrate with Asana, but yeah, it'd be nice to know how I can do it a little bit more and yeah, looking forward to it.
Thank you, Fiona. Good to hear you. And Reynold? Hello, Reynold.
Yeah, hello everyone. So I'm Reynold from Core Energy Company. Welcome.
In Philippines. Vivant. Thank you,
Yes,
Reynold.
sure.
Are you part of the IT team or are you an end user, Reynold?
I'm part of the finance team.
Good to know. Thank you. And Bree, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, hi, I'm from the Department of Housing, Local Government, Planning and Public Works. I'm part of the online and digital comms team there.
Okay. Thank you, Bree. We always have someone from housing in every of our meetings. Thank you, everyone. So I'm going to start by presenting this little introduction for the one who don't know. So my name is Martin, and I'm an Asana consultant. Work for Platinum Partner. We have offices, obviously, in Australia, Philippines, and New Zealand. And we work mostly with partners who help you streamline your business. So we work on low-code, no-code solutions, which are software who don't require coding to be set up or very little. And our objective is to help you work more efficiently, streamline your workflow and your business. We provide deployment, training, consulting, managed services, which is what we're doing today, and also financial service and integration for your licenses and the deployment of those. Today we are looking at our, we are actually part of our managed services It's open to all our customers. So some of you today might not have managed services because at the end, until the end of March, we do all those trainings for all our customers, whether you have managed services or not. After that, it's part of our managed service plan. So we've done quite a few of them. And today we are mid-February, so there's one more which will be report and dashboard for the 101 next week. And then we have an end user one for my task, and then we have my first workflows end of March. Knowing that from 1st of April, all our schedule changes, and we would have one onboarding every week for new users. Every Thursday, we'll have a training session for new users, four sessions per month, which cover different aspects, and it repeats every month. And then we'll have different sessions for the advanced session like we have today. Today, we are looking at working with Microsoft tools, which is today. So we're going to have a look at the Microsoft stack. I need to warn you, I am not a Microsoft user usually, so I've spent a lot of time setting up my Microsoft environment today. And while I will be able to give you a good overview and some details on how to set it up, there are some functionalities I don't know in all details, so please apologize. I'm learning as well on the Microsoft stack. Hello, Tracy. Good to see you again. Tracy is from Housing as well. Asana across team projects and collaboration will be on the end of Feb. I really encourage you to come to this one. It's very interesting. It helps building a project that works across teams, as the title suggests, but it's how to develop services in teams that helps other teams deliver projects. It's actually really interesting. And then we have Google Suite, which if you're here today won't interest you, and our five favorite apps at the end of the month. And again, starting April, the program will be renewed and will be limited to people and organizations who have managed services. Now, I'm going to jump into the demonstration for today when my computer let me do it. And before we jump into this, I am going to go a bit of an introduction on what is possible to do with Microsoft Stack and Asana. Give me a second to open. As I mentioned, I will keep today a bit more informal as usual because it's something that I don't cover every day, the Microsoft Stack, and also because we are in a small group, so we can interact better. So the very first thing I'd like to say is Microsoft and Asana have a very strong partnership. And really, you've got two schools in the world of software. You've got not anymore Apple and Microsoft, and that's working on a desktop and a laptop. But you have really the Google world and the open world of every applications, and the Microsoft world, which offers usually an alternative to any other software that you have on the market. At least that's their position. And so we will find today we're going through Microsoft. You can have a Microsoft stack and also use external applications, but that will be covered more into the Google session in 2 weeks. Usually when you have Microsoft, you use all of Microsoft. And so Asana, for people coming, Asana will offer us integration to each of those Microsoft tools. If you want to know more about it, browse to asana.com/Microsoft, and you will have a complete description of everything that Asana is capable of doing with Microsoft. And again, if you use tools that are not part of Microsoft, you can also add that to your stack. Now, there are tools that I'm able to demonstrate today, and that's what I will be doing. There are other tools that I'm not able to, simply because we don't have a setup related to it, because it requires a lot of setup, but we'll speak about it. On this page, you will be able to find all the integration available. What's important to also understand is that usually Microsoft is used by enterprise customers or larger corporation, and you will have your Microsoft integrated very often to your Active Directory or Microsoft Azure, which means that when you log in, the licenses are managed by Azure. And also the access you have to other applications are managed by your administrator. The reason I say that is all those integration requires your administrator to give you access to it. So if you don't have access or if you can't do it, you will need to escalate that internally to ask access to your administrator. It is very often the case nowadays that those access are locked simply because of all the attacks and all the security settings we are setting up nowadays. So it is not unusual that you'll find those access limited, and you will need to request to your IT team to provide you access. Some of them are usually more open than others. Microsoft OneDrive is usually more open. Your calendar is usually more open, and Microsoft Outlook is usually more open. Team can be closed quite often. I know it's the case at housing. And here we have Microsoft Azure, which is a single sign-on, which will require to be set up by the technical team as well. Other elements that we'll see here requires different setup too. So don't hesitate to involve us if you want us to help you, talking to your technical team and to your IT administration. But just as a warning, because it's integration and because it will relate to your internal technology stack, you will most probably need to have it approved by your IT internal team before you can actually use most of those functions. Not all, but most of them. All right, so we're going to go to that list one by one, and I'm going to show you as much as I can in how you can actually integrate all those Microsoft functionalities into your Asana. I'm going to start by the easy one that you probably know or not, and then we'll go into more difficult ones. All right. Any questions so far? As usual. No. So I'll keep going.
No.
Thank you. I guess it was Tracy. Was it? No?
It was
No.
me, yes. I thought
It was you.
I thought I'd make you happy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
He likes a bit of interaction.
But I'm here, I speak around for an hour, it's nice to have someone else to speak to. Otherwise, I'm in front of my screen. Thank you, Tracy, and thank you, Watson, as well, for your comment. All right, so first one is Microsoft OneDrive. So first question is why will we use OneDrive or why will we use SharePoint? The two are equivalent, so those two integrations will be the same. When you're working in Asana, and I'm going to take this example here, where I have our internal project of improvements, we can have a task, and when we are discussing on this task, we will be sharing documents. And when we share documents, we have two things we can do. We can either upload it, or we can have a little button here that says attach file. In our case, we use Google Drive, so you can see we have Google Drive and my computer. But in your case, you will have the ability to have My Drive and OneDrive, SharePoint and OneDrive. When you do that, what happens is instead of having a file on your Asana, where the file is physically located on your Asana, the file is going to stay within your shared drive OneDrive. The file is going to be stored over there, but you will have a link in here where you can actually see it, edit it, change it, etc. What is the benefits of that? Well, the major benefit is that you will be able to actually, Tracy?
So I know what you're saying there. I just have thoughts at the moment about because I was thinking if we use Asana and we use it and store our documents and that in there, we could have it registered within our organization as a record source. But if we're not, and we're just pointing out to other sources, then we still need to keep in mind record management for decisions, approvals, and that, because we can be pointing to them from any source, and there's no single source of truth then.
I'm sorry, so you mean if you keep the file on OneDrive, for example?
Yeah, so if we, so my thought was if we went and used Asana true and that, the way I thought, and we put our files in here and we actually store the files within Asana, rather than pointing to files in other locations. So like you said, you can use OneDrive, you can use Google, we can use our PC. So if we're picking up artifacts for a project from different sources, Asana is not a single source of truth for that information because it's coming from multiple sources. It's only a pointer. It's not picking up and holding the data. Therefore, it's not a single source of truth for the documents for record keeping purposes.
That's correct. I agree with you. So that's probably the backfire on it. The
Yep.
fallback situation is, yeah, you will have your file hold in a different location and linked to Asana, and therefore you will have two systems to work together. Now, to my opinion, it does remain the single point of truth because even though the file is located somewhere else, you still have it in Asana.
Yeah,
And the
but
benefits,
from a record keeping legislative requirement, you have to be able to, some of those documents have to be kept for, 5-7 years or longer, depending what it is. And when the project disappears in Asana, how long is it going to stay? Like it's not a record keeping solution. So, so in my head it is, we still need to have a storage location away from Asana and just point to the documents, because otherwise we need to put them in Asana and Asana will be our storage space. But it doesn't sound like that's feasible, really.
well, yeah, look, there's plus and minus, and thank you, Rodson, for your comment as well. I'll reply to that in a second. I think it's a debate that you're launching here, but there's plus and minus. If you keep it in Asana, yes, you have all the information in one place, and it is true. So if you get approvals and you use approvals for legal purposes, you want to have the file on Asana, so you make sure that the file is attached to the approval and everything is in one place. And because it's stored in Asana, you're going to keep it for 7 years, no problem. It's in one place, you have control over it. Now, the benefit of having it on SharePoint is that on OneDrive is that you will benefit of all the SharePoint OneDrive platforms. So versioning is one. Instead of having multiple files on the Asana platform every time you have a new version, then you will have one version available and you can go back to Azure to actually see the different version of your document. And if you think about approvals, when you have a timestamp on the approval, you have a timestamp on the versioning, you can match that up to know which version was approved. I don't know how legally that stands, but that seems pretty strong to me.
Thank you.
So that's a very good point. The other aspect of it is people will then be able to access it from the SharePoint or the OneDrive directly and update it. And you will stay in sync with people who, for some reason, would not be working in Asana. So if they edit the document over there, either they open it in their Microsoft Office on their computer, save it on OneDrive, or edit it online. There will always be one version of it for everyone. So you get rid of the version problem, which is a big issue usually. And then finally, there's another aspect of it, which is also governance, which sometimes some companies more and more don't allow people to store documentation on personal hard drive or on external systems. And so it's all shared and stored into a central system in OneDrive in that case. So for those reasons, there are benefits to it, but I agree with your points. Now you are able, just to show you a bit more, and before that, I will answer Mr. Watson. That file is being automatically open for all. They all have access who are involved on the project. So there is no relationship between the access to the file and the access to the Asana profile. So you can have access to the file and not have access to the task. And you can have access to the task and not have access to the file. So that's something true to keep in mind. When you give access to someone to a file on SharePoint, on an Asana task, if they don't have access to the file on SharePoint, they won't be able to open it. So very good point, Rodson, by the way. We do need to make sure that we have those access synchronized. It's important. So if you give access on one side, give access on the other side. There's one last thing I will add is for the one who likes to have things on SharePoint for organization reason, we have the ability using a plugin to create folders and attach them to a drive, so the folder into a project. So you can then, when you create a project, create a folder on your OneDrive and link it to your Asana, and then attach the file automatically to the project. So that's one thing we can set up if you're interested in too, and that keeps things organized. And you're able to keep things on OneDrive and have it always on Asana. But otherwise, and have the access rights set up the same way. But otherwise, you have to be careful, yes, about access rights. And on this part, when you are going to set up your admin panel, you have the ability to limit, in terms of security, where people can store their data. So too many screens here open, but you have somewhere in here file set attachment option, so you are able to say where people can share the information. So for us, for example, we've only allowed Google Drive, and we've allowed from the computer, because that's what we use. We don't use Dropbox, OneDrive, etc. In your case, you can set up your system so that people can only upload it from OneDrive, so that you have consistency with your internal governance, or not with OneDrive if you don't want that to be used. Something to keep in mind as well. And again, you do need to have your IT giving you access to OneDrive from Asana for this to be working. So another access that needs to be set up. But there's great benefits in this in terms of versioning and sharing information, I guess. That's about all I have about OneDrive. Do you guys have any questions around it?
No.
Thank you, Tracy. Which then I'm going to go back to our Microsoft page. The second one that we will be mentioning here is Microsoft Calendar. This is quite a simple one. You do not need to have any access set up by your IT team in that case. When would you use that? So the options you have here is you are able to share the schedule of the task of one specific project with someone who doesn't use Asana. Say, for example, you're running a list of online webinars, speaking about Asana, or something else. Online events or on-site events or release calendar of some sort of things. Then you're able to create a project in Asana, and then you will be able to go to your project here, and on top, you're able to click export and say sync to calendar. And in that case, two options will be given to you, one Outlook and one for Google. And they give you a link here to that specific calendar, and then gives you information on how you can add this to your Google Calendar application, to your calendar application. Now, what happens is this is an iCal file, so it's a calendar file that is then linked to your Outlook, and people can then access a new calendar in the Outlook, which will show this specific calendar without having access to Asana. They don't need to have access to Asana, but they will be able to add this file dynamically. You follow the prompt here. I don't have a default. It's because I'm on Mac, it's a bit different. If you click on the link on your project, it will open your Outlook, and it will ask to add a calendar to your Outlook. And then this iCal file is online and updated all the time. So if you have it, then you have a new calendar in your Outlook, and this calendar is constantly updated with any change you do on your project. Again, I think we have one here in our case for events that Amy's prepared. So we have our event agenda, our sessions here, and we have all our events here, which have set up with a proper date in front of the event. And then I'm able to synchronize that with, in my case, my Google, but in your case, your Outlook. And then every time a date is changed for one of the events, we will have then a different, so my Outlook calendar will be updated as well. So I see that in my calendar. That's a very nice way to share a project status or something with someone who doesn't have Asana and to keep them up to date. Also, if you use one project to have all the milestones of other projects, so you can use multi-homing. You have, say, 10 projects, and you want to communicate to your boss the milestones of your projects only. Then you can add all those milestones to a new project you create a calendar, share it with your boss. And then whatever happens in all those 20 projects you have, if the milestone state changes, it will change on the calendar you've shared with your boss. It's a very useful functionality, to my opinion. And available without any setup because it's a completely open technology. And you just add a calendar to anyone's Microsoft calendar or Google Calendar in that. Any questions, comments on the specific one?
No.
Thank you, JC. Okay, next one will be our Outlook. So Outlook, Microsoft Outlook Online. I must tell you, I've battled for 2 hours before this training session today. Tried to install the plugins for Outlook, and because I don't use Outlook every day, it was really complicated. Now, it is not that complicated for you. So if you want to add the Microsoft Outlook, you can just go to the marketplace on Microsoft and add it to your Outlook. Why would you want to do that? And what does the plugin do? The plugin for Outlook enables you to things to create. You have the page here. It will summarize you what it does. You have the ability to create tasks from an email. So you receive an email, you can create a task from it, or you receive an email and you can add that email and its attachments to a task in your project. So I've installed it for this demonstration, so you can have a look at what it does. I've got 2 versions. I've got one on Outlook that I also installed for this demonstration. And so if I open my Outlook here and I have an account here open on Outlook, I can take that email I have here, and on the top here, I will have an Asana plugin, and I can say create an Asana task or open Asana add-in, which will open a panel on the right-hand side. When it opens this panel, I'll show you a bit more details on the online version. You will have the ability to upload the task as well. So you have here the ability to either create a task or open the panel, which you see here. The panel will show you 2 things. I'll show you now in the online version. When we open the panel up, open as an add-in, we have the panel open on the right-hand side. It's going to load. It's going to offer me 2 options. One is to add the content of that task to an existing task. And when I type in, I'll be able to type the name of the task. It's going to search through my entire Asana library to find which one it is. So I'm sure I have a test task somewhere. Between that, here we go. So we've got plenty of test tasks. It's going to browse through and it's going to order them by the last one I've been consulting to give me a bit of an idea of where it is. The second thing we can do is just create a new task. And when we do so, we give the task the name, which typically will be the title of the email. Assignee, same thing. We're going to be able to assign the task to someone else. I'm going to browse through our entire organization to find who. We can set up a due date, create the task, assign it to a project, same thing. And be able to find different projects and find which one we want to use. And then we're going to be able to put a description and decide if you want to add the email as a comment. And if we attach, normally if we attach the document to it as well. So we can do this directly from Outlook. We don't have to move out. Pretty useful, especially when you start. When people start using Asana and they're still using Outlook a lot, this helps a lot to start and to get a little bit of traction on your deployment. When you open the Asana add-ins, you will also have on the right-hand side a second tab, which will show you your task from Asana. No, it's not showing here today. So it was before. Selected it before. It will show you your calendar with your task for the day. And if you can please do what you were doing before, that would be amazing. Doesn't matter. Maybe because I started the process. No, I started the process of adding this as a task, and now it doesn't show me the other screen. But when you do, it will show you exactly on this version. So it will show you my day, and you will be able to see your calendar, and you'll be able to say the event, so the task that you have scheduled for you today directly from Outlook. Quite interesting as well. Those 2 versions, as you can see, runs on my Outlook on my desktop, on Mac and on PC. If you're still doing the battle Mac versus PC, it also runs on my web app here. Note again, I was trying to play with an account an hour ago. There's one of my customer accounts where we have an account in their Microsoft 365, and I was able to add the plugin on my version on my desktop, but not on the online version. So sometimes, due to your setup and administrative setup, you might be able to add it to your on-site on your desktop, but not to the online version where obviously the administrator has more control. So just keep an eye on that. And the configuration you do in Outlook for your plugins online is not the same as the one on your computer. So those are two different things that you need to monitor. You are able here to customize, and I wasn't able to add here the Asana plugin, but I was able to do that on my desktop. I was able to click here, let's say customize my toolbar, and I was able to add the Asana plugin directly on my toolbar here and make it a little easier to access when I open an email. So something to keep in mind, you might not have the same access allocated to you when you are on your web version compared to when you are on the normal version. From Outlook, that's the main things. So you will have the calendar, which we've shown before, the ability to create a calendar and add it to your Outlook, the ability to see your calendar of tasks within Outlook, and the ability to take an email and transfer it to a task or add it as a task command. That is, just as a note, on the Google version, they have just last month added another functionality, which is that we can attach an email thread to a task. It means that every time an email arrives for that specific thread, it adds it automatically to the task as well. Keeps in sync your email and your task. It's a pretty interesting function. It's not on the Outlook version at the moment. So there are two main differences with the Gmail and the Outlook. The Gmail also has, so it has this ability to have a thread, and it has another ability which was, yeah, you can send email directly from Gmail, sorry, from Asana using your Gmail, which you cannot do with Microsoft today. Oops, I've got two people waiting to enter. Sorry for that, guys. I was talking too much. Now, moving to the next topic, we had as well, once we've passed this, the Outlook, the ability to connect Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Azure, and others here. I'll continue with Microsoft Azure. Microsoft Azure is referred very often as the single sign-on. What is single sign-on? The single sign-on is the ability to connect the login of your computer. That's how it looks for you as an end user. The login of your computer to the login of Asana. What does that mean? It means that when a new person will join your company, they will be added to the directory of people in your organization, referred to as Active Directory or Microsoft Azure. When you add the person to the company, you have to define, in that case, which application they have access to. And that means that if you connect your SSO to your organization, the management of users is going to be transferred from Asana to Azure or Active Directory. It is mostly a security feature used by IT administrators to control things. I get an example. Yes, Tracy?
We haven't done that yet, and it's really driving me crazy. Is it actually challenging to move over to that?
It is not. It is a decision, an internal decision of your organization. I think Mr. Justin, who is in charge of this, internally did switch it on and off. He told me yesterday he switched it back on. So there are two options. When you connect Active Directory to Asana, you can make it mandatory or optional. And if you make it optional, you decide which user is going to use the sign off of Active Directory to sign into Asana, which means they don't need to sign in anymore, but you manage still the user and the licenses from Asana. If you make it mandatory, then management of license is transferred to
Our complexity might be our two mogs that we've had in the last 6 months.
I know, and it makes it, I love it, and I don't love it so much because I love it. Yeah, I love it because you don't have to log in, so it's easier, it goes faster, it's more secured, etc. But also that means every time you want to add a user, you have to go to your IT administration team and add a user there and do a provisioning. They transferred all the control of Asana to the IT administrative team, plus and minus, I guess.
Fair enough.
But you can speak to Justin, for example, and in your case, or for
Yeah,
anyone else in the
I know he's
session.
been turning. I know he's been turning it on and off at times because we've had some issues. So
it works well when your IT team is very stable, and this process of provisioning works well. Otherwise, it can be a bit annoying. And in your case, you have had a lot of changes, so it might have made it difficult. But otherwise, what you can do is sign up for the non-mandatory, so for the optional single sign-on, and then each user, you can decide from the administration of Asana which user is going to use the single sign-on and which is not. You can activate and deactivate per user, and so that gives you the ability to say, well, Tracy, she wants it up, I give it to her so she doesn't go nuts about typing her password every time. But Martin, he's not very clear about what he wants there, so I can remove it. What I was saying, yes. So when you do activate this, it transfers to your IT administrative team the management of licenses and the management of users. So you then have the example of, I have a salesperson who joins the organization. They need an access to my CRM. They need access to my finance systems. They need access to email, and they need access to Asana. And so when a new person arrives in the organization, they're added to the Azure, and they added as a salesperson, all this gets provisioned for them. So all those licenses and everything gets executed, provisioned, prepared, and then the person can have access to all that in one go. So it's not just the single sign-on. Single sign-on is you don't need to pass your password. It's also the provisioning, so the preparation of the licenses and the access setup of those different systems, depending on profiles usually or on a specific user. Very common to have set up, and again, two different ways to do it. One is optional and one is mandatory. If you haven't done it yet and you are on an enterprise license, which is the case of you at Core Energy, Housing, you have it as well. And Stephanie, you have it as well at Newcrest. If you haven't set up the single sign-on, then I always suggest start by making it optional, test it with a few users, and then turn it up to be mandatory. And when you do so, just be aware that people can't join by the Asana website anymore. So you will need to go internally, provision licenses, get all this organized by your IT team. It is constraining. Better to do when things are a bit stable than when you are growing and you have new users coming in all the time. This is Microsoft Azure or Active Directory. So it's the integration with the user. Any other questions, Steph, Ivan?
No, thank you, Martin. Sorry, I was late.
Thank you. Oh, it's useful. I'm sorry, this session is a bit less prepared than usual because I've had 3 sessions this week, so it has been a bit challenging for me to get everything on time. Next one, very interesting one, Microsoft Teams. So I had a good play with that one. Very interesting to set up. So you can go to your Microsoft team. Same thing, go to this page, asana.com/Microsoft, click on the Microsoft team one, and you will be able then to click on install for Asana for Teams, and it's going to redirect you to a page where you install the plugin for Microsoft Teams. Everything as Outlook can be blocked by your administrator, and for the people at Housing, it is blocked by your administrator at the moment. I personally find it really, well, it could really be open, to my opinion. I don't see a lot of personal risks there in having information from an internal system to an internal system, but it is currently blocked at Housing. It is also blocked at Newcrest, Steph. I did check it before. I don't know, Vivant people here, if it has been blocked in your case. When you install this, it's going to add a panel to your Microsoft. Oops, I need to find the right screen. It's going to add a panel to your Microsoft team. Here we go. And in your Microsoft team, you're then going to have now an app for, oops, find the right screen because I've got 20 screens with Teams as well. Only one now, which is a shame, but it's not the right one. I'm just going to add another team here. Voila. So you're going to go to several screens. That's going to ask you, it's always the same thing. When you add a plugin, it's going to ask you first, do you authorize Asana to access this application. And then you give yes as an access, and then it's going to redirect you to Microsoft. You're going to have to agree to your login again. And then if your administrator blocks you, it's going to tell you at this point, hi, sorry, you don't have access to that specific application. Now, there's several things that happens when you have installed the plugin for Asana. It will add it to your list of applications here in your team. And it comes with a nice little bot that's going to help you in understanding how it works. What does it do? I think it's one of the most interesting plugins, in my opinion, much more interesting than the Outlook one. So you can link a project to one of your, I think it is stream or channel. And what you can do is you can then decide what goes into that channel. You will have, when you add this plugin, this bot coming in, and it's going to give you a little browse through the different functionalities that are available. So you can go through this, and it's going to tell you how to use it. It's quite useful. It's really well done. It's going to make it very useful for you, but you can add essentially connect a project to a conversation, a channel in Team, and then you can decide what sorts of notification happens. And you will have the same notification in Asana, which is when I add a task, when my name is mentioned, when I add a task, when a comment is done on a task, or when there's a status update on the project. And then you can sync up one channel with one project. People don't need to have access to Asana. They will get a date on that specific project. Another thing that I found very useful in this setup of Asana with Team is the ability to use the Asana app here directly into your conversation to attach a task, a project, or a portfolio. So you can be talking about something. I'll give you an example here. We're doing a recruitment, and we have a team recruitment project, and we have this candidate, Xiron Raise, who actually has applied for the job. It has been assigned to me to review that. So I'm able to type a message. In that case, I said, oops, this is the candidate I'm talking about, with plenty of typos. But I was able to actually link a task to that specific discussion, and then people can just view it in Asana or comment directly in Asana from here. So that gives you the ability to make that link between the context, which is the task, and the conversation you're having, and comment directly and interact on the task directly from Asana. So you can imagine having a team, which, it's the name of the software, but having a channel that is for your team where you're talking about a project, and then you refer to a task and you attach a task here, you can talk about it, or you can refer to a project, as I was showing, or a portfolio when you're talking about something. You have all these capabilities here. Move that to another screen. So you have the ability to select those, and same thing when you start typing, it's going to start filtering, it's going to browse through your Asana, so it's interactive, and things updates as you're going through. So that was quite an interesting one. Now you have another ability, which is from here, you have the ability to create a task directly. So when you are in a meeting, when you are in a chat, you can create a task or a project directly from the chat into your Asana, so that you, in your conversation, you are able to directly create that in Asana. Very interesting for meetings. We use it internally. We're having a meetings, and when we talk, we at the same time create tasks in Asana from the action points that we're doing in the meeting. If you were in the AI sessions we had yesterday, there was also the ability to attach your transcript of your meetings to the task in Asana, and then to use the AI to define the different next steps, and so subtasks to be executed from that meeting. So if I take this as an example, you go to a meeting, this meeting is a task in Asana, and it's connected to your event in Team. You have, in that specific case, a caption collector, so something that's going to caption what I'm saying here, and it's going to attach that to the task after the meeting. So we have the meeting, and then we attach all this to the task, so we know, yes, Fiona, there is a recording of the AI meeting. We can ask Amy to send you a copy after this call, so you have a copy of that after. Yes, Tracy?
I just tried to do it and I can't do it. So what it looks like it's doing, it's trying to create it and push it into just a Teams, another Teams thing. It's not getting any choices to do anything with Asana. From a Teams chat.
Okay, but did you manage to install the plugin?
No.
But there's a problem. Team is blocked
Okay.
with Asana at housing.
Okay.
That's something that, yeah, I was mentioning a bit earlier. We need probably to request that to have team able to be connected to Asana. The
Okay,
person
cool.
to talk to
Thank you.
is just an internal. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
thank
sorry.
you.
There's limitations. So, right.
Thank you.
My pleasure. And so, yes, the recording of the AI meeting is available, and we can send you a copy, Fiona. We do another one. AI goes very fast. This one is the first functionalities of Asana. They're really interesting, Tracy. I think you should have a look at it too if you can. It shows what you can do with AI, and some of them will be creating tasks and subtasks from a meeting. So if I take that example again, there is a functionality to connect to a meeting and have a transcript of your discussion, like what we have today, attached to a task. And then you can use the AI to browse through our discussion and decide of the next steps after the meeting, which is really awesome. So you have a meeting, you don't need to do the transcript anymore and the meeting notes because it's done through a transcript, a caption, and then you don't need to decide the next step because you've got an AI who reads your discussions and decide on the next steps and assign the task automatically. And if you discussed about the deadline, it also sets up the deadline for you. So it's pretty cool. So anyway, coming back to what we're doing today, which is the team setup, you have the ability to create tasks, meetings, and to discuss it directly inside the team. Now, when you do so, I go back here, I go to my Asana, and I click customize, and you can see that I have apps. One of the tabs is going to be the team app. And when I add it here, I can add the team app to the project, which gives me the ability then to connect projects to my team here. So I haven't used it all the time, but you can connect this and you can connect it to a channel. And then the next thing it's going to do, I almost forgot to tell you, is you can connect rules to team. So once you've installed it, you can connect the automation inside Asana to Teams. Example, you're going to like this step. My task is 2 weeks late, send a message in Teams to alert. Or any of the activities we can have in our workflow in Asana can lead to an action, external action, and this here for Teams is going to be send a channel message. That's the only ones available at the moment. You can see we have others I mentioned before. If you use Gmail, you can send an email, create a calendar event. That's not available for Microsoft yet. But in our case, we have sent to a channel message, so we can have a team connected to a channel and then automation there. Very useful in terms of approval. Hey, this task is waiting for your approval. Very useful in terms of delays and alerts. We have a schema that explains how to use the different tools for communication. And usually what we recommend is using Teams, Slack, and Zoom for communications that are urgent, instant alerts. So it's very useful to have that with your automation, that you get an alert when something goes wrong. But that's all I had to say for the team one. Feel free to go with more questions. Now, we have some other tools that are quite interesting, which I'm not all able to demonstrate today. The one I've done so far, I'm able to demonstrate. The next one are going to be mostly discussions because you need a lot more setup for that. We say Microsoft PowerPoint attach files to tasks and keep the teams work connected. This really is the same as our OneDrive here. It's the ability to attach a PowerPoint or a SharePoint file or OneDrive. It's the same. It's just 2 different storage capacity from Microsoft. Now we have 4 here that are quite interesting, but I can't really go into the details. Next one I want to dive into is Power BI. So most of you today, because you are an enterprise company, you will have a Power BI license. What is Power BI? It's a tool that enables you to build beautiful dashboards and reports. You might use Power BI or you might use Tableau. Those are the 2 leaders. Tableau is by Salesforce and Power BI is by Microsoft. Very useful in which case? Well, you do have reports and dashboards in Asana, but we will differentiate different types of reports and dashboards. The one you have in Asana will be focused on Asana and will be what I call operational dashboards and reports, which means that they deal with existing activity, what's happening today, right now. They have some limitations. You cannot do a report in Asana that is as beautiful as in Power BI. You have more tools in Power BI. It's a specialized tool. It's normal. So you can do something more pretty and more customized in Power BI. In Asana, you will have the benefits of it being instant. So you don't have to wait in having the dashboards and reports there. Everything you do in Asana within half a second is updated with the dashboard and reports. It's not branded, so it will be just purely internal. And it's really, as I mentioned, for operations. So I have something happening. I want to have a report and I can take actions. I go quick, I can update that report, manage it. I click on the link, it shows me the actual data behind the report, and I can take a very quick action. In some cases, we want to have an external reporting. So we might want to report to our customers or to our management team. In those cases, we'll be looking for a report that is branded, that has some more, fashionable design, and also that is able to do different things. So when you bring all the information to Power BI, BI means business intelligence. It means that we're going to cross the data across different systems. You can have the data in Asana used across the data in your financial systems. For example, I think Great Barrier Reef, you might be interested into that. So what are the milestones that were paid on my project versus what is in my finance systems? So you can manage different systems, the data in the same place. The second aspect is you will probably not be looking, it's not designed for, also many people use it like that, but you usually not be looking at instant data, you'll be looking at historical data. What is the trend of my invoice being paid on time? What is the trend of my project being delivered on time? What is the trend of this person being effective at delivering their work, or this type of project being effective to be delivered? So you'll be looking at historical data, everybody living at the end of the session. You'll be looking at historical data, and you'll be able to do some pretty fancy reporting there. This is Power BI. The plugin comes out of the box, is available for Microsoft Enterprise, not for lower version. There are some limitations in the plugin, which we can discuss if you're interested in doing that, but it covers most of the needs. And the setup is done entirely on Power BI. So you go to Power BI, you will have a URL to input, and then the data will be loaded. I think it's loaded daily, and you will be working in Power BI to build your dashboards and reports. Another one that comes with Microsoft that is external will be Microsoft Power Automate. So Microsoft Power Automate is an external platform, which I personally think is naturally good. It's in there, and it enables you to automate work outside of Asana. So for example, an invoice, and for the one who works with us, we use a platform called Make, which is a lot more powerful than Power Automate, but this is the competitor of Power Make. So you're able to say that when a task is completed in Asana, take the field invoice number, go to my finance systems, find the invoice matching, and mark it as paid as well. You can connect different systems and bring data into the system using Power Automate. One of the cases we see at housing at the moment is there's an online form in another system that collects data, and then we use Power Automate to take the values of that form and bring it back into Asana, which could be done through an Asana form, but for some reason, it's done externally. You can use that to connect Asana to another ticketing system. So if you have Azure DevOps, you can actually use that to connect both. Now, again, Microsoft Power Automate is not a great tool. It is very limited. However, it comes with your licenses. It's free, so it can enable you to do some of the automation work within your license cost. We then have two others that I don't know too well. Microsoft Connector. I have looked at it, but I've never used it. So it connects Microsoft to 365. 365 to Asana. I think it receives notification in your system from updates on your project. That's what it claims as well. I think it's just notification on your desktop that comes from the different notification in Asana. I am not too versed with this one. It's pretty new. But as you can see from the screenshot, you are able to have notification of Asana coming into your Microsoft 365. And there's a last one, which is Microsoft Defender. So you can actually connect the activities of Asana to Microsoft Defender to detect anomalies, hacking, or different activities of some sorts that could come that hackers could use to come and attack into your Asana. Well, it's been an hour and 54 minutes. In this session, we have covered different integration with Asana and Microsoft, starting with integration of files and the benefits and fallback of those solutions. The calendar, which doesn't require Microsoft any configuration on Microsoft. The integration with Outlook, which enables you to create tasks and update tasks from emails. Integration with Teams, which does a lot, including things that we were not able to demonstrate today, but reference to task and project synchronization of notifications, creation of task and project directly from Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Azure, which was the single sign-on, the ability to provision and to control users directly from Microsoft Stack. Microsoft SharePoint, someone's running now, it's a bit late. Microsoft Azure, Microsoft SharePoint, which is the ability as OneDrive to share files. Power Automate, which can enable you to connect Asana to other elements in your Microsoft stack. Microsoft 365 connector, which is to get notification. Microsoft Power BI, which will enable you to make great dashboards and reports and analyze data from the past. And Microsoft Defender, who helps you to leverage Microsoft security infrastructure to better protect your Asana. Well, that's about it for today. If you have any questions, I think Tracy's coming back. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me now. Otherwise, that is it for today.
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona.
I'm back to say hello. Go back to say goodbye. See ya.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Fiona.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, everyone.
It's actually really hard when you're on this and then someone calls you in Teams and you go, how do I shut you up so I can hear them? And I went, I can't. I'm just shutting you down. It was easier to shut you down.
Oh, so I got shut down.
Martin, can I, when others drop off, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
In relation to the email that I sent you.
No problem. I'm just going to stop the recording.
Yeah, good idea.